Welcome to the Destination Arte podcast, where we are building a community of creatives who work together to achieve creative excellence. I'm David.
And I'm Mark, and this is episode 100.
Episode 100! We did it, Mark. We made it to episode 100. We have released 99 episodes up to this point, and here we are celebrating triple digits in our third year. How's it feel?
It feels great. I think, I'll say this. We were releasing every week, I think in year one, which looking back, that was nuts. But we were releasing every year in year one, so we were like on track to hit. We had like 52 episodes in the first year, because 52 weeks, we were like, whoa, this is crazy. And then I was like, we're going to hit 100 in no time. And now it's been like a lot longer span, and now we're to 100. So it feels really good to be at 100, and it feels like that it's about time, because we've done a lot of work. So
yeah, I was looking at our episodes from year one, and just every Friday there was an episode, and I cannot imagine now doing that much work. I feel like I've gotten a little lazy because I'm used to this every 2 weeks thing, and especially this year when we worked ahead of time and all I had to do was click upload every Friday. But it was,
and we were creating the content back then.
That's so true. I didn't think about that. This year we've switched to letting other people do the content for us, and the first 2 years it was all us.
Yeah. Well, I was scrolling through Instagram, and we had quotes, photos, and illustrations going up with those episodes. It's just like, oh my God. But looking back, some of those illustrations are super memorable. I went through and I saved the pastest one of you saying I'm David and I'm a writer, and the Calvin and Hobbes one of me saying I'm Mark and I'm an artist, because I was like, those two need to be put in like an archive for later. Just seeing that style was so cool again. I was like, man, that was fun. So
yeah, hopefully we can start doing illustrations again. Maybe bring someone on to do illustrations.
Yeah. I mean, I'm personally looking back, I was like, I gotta start doing that again. But I do think it will be fun in 2021 to bring art in general back, hopefully back into the Instagram feed. I've got some ideas kicking around in my brain of how that could maybe look. But we'll see. We'll see in 2021 how we can integrate, because I think the quotes look great right now. But I would love to see art back in the Instagram feed. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think we have tons of options. And that's what I wanted to ask you as we started out. What's the biggest thing you learned from 100 episodes of doing a podcast for 3 years now?
The biggest thing I've learned personally is that reality takes you places your imagination can't. And I think that a lot of people, we hear that the opposite way. We say, use your imagination, use your creativity. It can take you anywhere. But at some point, that actually has to become something concrete. And when we started doing the podcast and releasing episodes that went live every Friday, that really started taking you places that I hadn't even imagined. We're in a place now because of the things that we actually put out there in the world that I'm super excited about. And I again, couldn't have imagined just in the dream world, So what about you?
I love that idea. I want to follow up on that real quick. It is cool to see the opportunities that we have opened for ourselves and others as a result of the work that we did. And I think that building on that, the biggest thing I've learned is to embrace the difficulty. We've been having a difficult time tonight trying to record this video, and I don't even know if it's going to turn out. We might just have the audio when it's all said and done. But just every tricky thing that we've approached, or every time we faced a difficult task or an obstacle or something we've had to overcome, like this year we wanted to interview people, and we were faced with not being able to travel and people being stuck at home, and we just found a solution and dove into it, and now we're pushing forward into new things. We're trying to add video to the podcast, video interviews, but every time that we've made a mistake, we've learned from it and made a bunch more good decisions on top of it. And I think we used to say back in the early days, lean in. Did we used to say that? Do you remember that?
We did.
So yeah. I think it was something about like when you get close to the top of that mountain, you want to quit and you have to lean in. And I was thinking the other day about climbing that mountain in Colorado, and I definitely want to go do that again. But I was just thinking about that last little bit, getting to the top, and how much it was worth it when we got there, and how much it would have been disappointing if we hadn't kept pushing. So that for me has been the biggest thing I've learned, is just embrace difficulty. My favorite book right now, the War of Art, he calls it the resistance. Anytime you try to do something worthwhile, there's something called the resistance that shows up. And so I think if we ever have merch, one of our shirts should be embrace, or what did I say? Friends of the Resistance. So it looks kind of like we're something from World War II or something, but it's really just kind of leaning into those hard things. So now that we've gotten the difficult stuff out of the way, what's your favorite memory from 100 episodes? Do you have at least one?
I don't know if I have a favorite moment, and thankfully it's a moment that gets repeated often. And for me, that moment is every time you call me and say, guess who emailed us back? So that for me has kind of been my favorite moment. And like, we're talking about like our sister Bethany, you know, like we were like, oh my goodness, Bethany's going to be on the podcast. This is great. Not that, you know, she's unapproachable, but like we were such big fans of hers. So I've been such a big fan of everyone that we've been able to have on the podcast, and to be able to just get that call that says, hey, guess who emailed us back? It's like, no way, you're kidding me. So that's been probably my favorite memory, is just that moment of excitement between you and me where we're like, we're going to get to interview so-and-so.
Yeah, that's probably my biggest memory from 2020 especially, is like every time I would get an email saying, hey, I'd love to do this, or hey, this would work for me in this time frame, getting to text you, or I would be like, call me when you can, or I would call you and you'd be plenaring and you'd be focused in on this painting and you'd be like, hey. And I would say, guess who emailed us? And you'd be like, oh. So it was really fun. But yeah, my favorite memory honestly has been every interview. And I was looking back, and we interviewed someone, episode 17, which would have been, 17 weeks into this thing. We decided to interview somebody, Jonathan Rigsby. We interviewed him about acting. And then very soon after, I think we had Jill Mitchell on about talk about film. We've had Christoph Hankerson. We've had Jenneth Dyke came on and talked about I think film as well, or producing film. And then we had a couple other people come in here and there. And then in 2020 we kind of hit it. You can still see I've got some stuff celebrating our 20 interviews, and I still have our 20 names that we interviewed. My mom put these up around the doorway when we hit 20. But yeah, every interview has been just like better than the last, and each interview has been amazing. So it's been crazy to see them build, and I've been excited about the people we've been able to add to the community already, and the friends that we've made. And we were just talking with Abigail recently. We were both messaging her about some work that she had done, and we're hoping to reconnect with her again and talk about, just not even on the podcast, just like be friends with these people. And then hopefully have some of them back on. And in 2021, we're looking at hopefully, making, I don't want to give away too much. We've got an episode coming out in a couple of weeks, so we're talking about our goals, but, hopefully provide a way for people to get to know each other better, and to encourage one another, and to grow together, and to really become a community. So I'm excited about that. And I guess that leads me into my last thing, is like, I'm excited for the future about growing the community, over the next 100 episodes. You and I have been talking a lot this fall about plans for, consistent get together, or I know we had a Instagram poll about people wanting to connect socially or digitally, once a week or once every other week. And so that's why we're putting this out there, so people can hold us accountable and say, hey, have you finalized those plans and that sort of thing. But what are you excited about, Mark? Is it kind of along the same lines, or do you have something else going on?
Yeah, I have something a little bit different, but I think it may be along the same lines. I'm really excited about what I don't know exists, because I recently was able to go up and see an artist friend of mine, and he was someone that I had been introduced to by someone else at school. They introduced me to their work, like, hey, have you heard of this person? And hopefully we're going to have them on the podcast later, so I won't give away their name. But they were like, yeah. I said, I know, I'd never heard of them. So they introduced me to them, and then I was able to get to know them, and then go up and visit them, like probably 2 years after that initial, interaction. And that was really great. And I walked up to the friend that had introduced me and I just said, thank you so much for telling me about this person. I didn't even know they existed. And that really made me sit back and think. And I was like, man, I get introduced, every day. It seems like on Instagram, I find another artist, like a new one. I'm like, I didn't even know this art existed. This person existed. So I think I'm super excited about who we don't know exists, like who we're going to interview that we don't know yet. But more than that, I think kind of the two part of that, the second part is I want to be the thing that someone didn't know existed. I want Destination Arte to be that thing that someone didn't know about, but they hear it and they go, man, that it fills a part in their soul that they they knew they needed filled, but they didn't know there was something for them, and I want to be that community, and I want my art to be that kind of art that just certain people, because I've found that recently with artists and with different people connections. I'm like, man, I didn't even know that this is what I wanted to see in art, but now someone's actually doing it and it's a reality and I can intake it, on a daily basis or weekly basis. So that's what I'm kind of most excited about, is just, first of all, who we don't know is out there, what we don't know exists, and also being that for someone else, being the thing for believers, for people who need community that they didn't know existed, but that it's a reality for them and they can be a part of it.
Yeah, we are 100% convinced that, based on the feedback we've gotten from people we interviewed, that there's a need for the community aspect. Mm-hmm. And we're 100% convinced that being together drives you to be more excellent, which fits right in with all of the goals we've had all along, which mm-hmm. we feel like we keep changing our focus, but in reality, we keep actually getting closer to our original goal, which is cool for me.
We refine. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're just refining our focus. And that's something that I think is super, we were talking about this earlier about like the first part of the podcast where it was us kind of creating content, and then this second kind of leg that we've been on where we're hosting interviews, where we're listening, where we're learning. And that's super cool. I was like, man, I think that the only thing more powerful and special than like us creating together is us listening together. And I think that has been super cool and a great thing. And I'm looking forward to doing more of that. And I realized like, man, that it really is what community is about. It's about that listening and creating, that input and that output. So I've been excited to learn through the interviews things that we can be doing better, both to help each other and to help our careers. And then also be able to then go out and create, go out and apply the things. So I'm super excited to apply the lessons that we're learning through the interviews into the community.
Yeah. Well, hey, do you have anyone, this is going to get dangerous, but do you have anyone you want to thank as we've hit 100 episodes? And then I'll fill in with anybody that I can think of after you're done.
There's too many people. Who do I want to thank? I want to thank, there's obviously family, like the people that have believed in us from the start and still believe in us as we, continue to like push forward. But I want to thank, I'll maybe should I leave the family for you?
No, you go ahead.
Okay.
You thank the family. I'm going to thank my wife, obviously, but I'll do that in a minute.
I want to thank Mom and Dad. Dad is always a listener of the podcast. He'll always, comment about what he heard that week. Even back when we were creating, things, sometimes he'll even be like, I liked it when you guys were, talking about movies. I thought that was super interesting. And Mom has always been such a huge supporter of us, and also been a wonderful asset in trying to make us better, whether it be like taking photos or just giving us feedback when we ask for it. She's been just a super great part of it. Huge thanks to Amy for coming on this year and helping us with scheduling and coordinating. She's our sister. She's the sister that was not on the podcast, but she will be eventually. But she does a lot of behind the scenes stuff for us, and that's been super helpful. My friend Patrick, who works on launch with us, which we'll get more to you guys on that. But Patrick has been a huge friend and a great guy to me to help me with launch and execute that vision in like a great style that he's got. He's put in so much work on that thing. And then I guess the last person, and I know I'm forgetting people, the last person I would say is Adam Clegg. I really want to thank him because he has been a mentor to me. And then he met me in a coffee shop for an interview back when we were like, maybe we should try interviews, like more consistently. And he met and really just shared above and beyond what I thought he would. He was very generous, and he was so excited to be on the podcast. And I was like, Adam, I don't think you understand. We're excited. He's like, no, I'm excited. So he was he's always been a big fan of us, and that's been a huge boost to me just every time I talk to him. So I know I'm forgetting people. The people that I'm forgetting, you are forgotten, but not unappreciated. And then I'll kick it to you, David.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Keith, who from Sentient Academy, who really came at a crucial time this year. The Lord brought him and really came alongside us, helped us. It had us on Sentient Academy. Is supporting us in every way that he can, just like by encouraging us and giving us advice. I know he was a big help for you this summer. I'd like to thank Hannah, who has listened to every episode we've ever made. She said she listens while she unloads the dishwasher whenever a new episode comes out. And that is such a huge blessing to me to see her name at the top of our listener list. I'd like to thank Andy and Eric, too, two friends of mine that always will message me about the podcast. Especially, I appreciate them listening as the content of the podcast has diverted away from what they're all about in their life. And so they are just big help and encouragement to me. I really appreciate them. I know I'm forgetting other people. I'd love to thank my wife, Tabitha, for putting up with me closing the door and asking for silence. And she'll put her earbuds in when it's recording time. She's been a huge blessing and encouragement to me throughout this whole process. And I know she believes in me because she doesn't, fuss about me doing this. I know that she knows I can do this. And so that's been important for me to have that. And then just thanking all the listeners, everyone who listens and who gives feedback and responds. And we're hoping to incorporate you guys into the community in this coming year. Hoping to have more things where you can get involved. Hopefully, maybe video sessions or, hopefully getting an online place, maybe like Discord or Slack or something like that, where we can all communicate with one another and encourage one another, look at each other's work, that sort of thing. So, Mark, do you have anything to add before we sign off?
History will tell that Tabitha was a real MVP. So that's my last thing. She has been such a great help, and I told her, I said, thank you so much for loaning me your husband for these time. It's a huge boost to me. So thanks again to her. She deserves a second shout out from my end.
Yeah, and as always, you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. We're on SoundCloud, obviously, and hopefully long term we'll be on YouTube providing interviews face-to-face with our guests, and or once we can start going out and meeting them in person, we'll start taking our camera and sitting down with them like we did earlier this summer. And so you can always find us on Facebook and Instagram, Destination Arete, Arete. I'll put that on the screen here. And as always, we'll be back in 2 weeks with our Christmas episode. See you then.